Click on SSML above to give it a John. Jungkook's name is almost always associated with many things. A golden voice, handsomeness that attracts millions of fans, to his reputation as a golden magne in the BTS group. But lately, the public's attention is not only focused on his musical talent. A simple statement from his own colleague, Park Jimin, actually opened a new conversation that surprised fans around the world in a casual occasion that was later talked about by ARMY. Jimin honestly revealed something that was rarely discussed in public. He said that among the members of BTS, Jungkook is one of the smartest in managing finances. That sentence sounds simple, but for the fans, the confession sparked great curiosity. How is it possible that an idol who is known to be cheerful and spontaneous on stage turns out to have such mature financial management skills? ARMY began to wonder. What exactly is Jungkook's financial strategy to the point of being praised directly by Jimin? For those who followed BTS's journey from the beginning, this story actually has very deep roots. Jungkook is not just a global pop star who lives in luxury. He is someone who has understood the meaning of responsibility since a very young age. When he was still a teenager and decided to leave his hometown to become a trainee, Jungkook was actually starting a risky journey. There is no guarantee that he will succeed. There is no certainty that all those hard training will result in popularity. But behind that big decision, there was one thing he always thought about: his family. People who have worked with Jungkook often say that he has a mature side that is sometimes invisible to the camera. In front of fans, he can look relaxed, joking, even childish. But behind the scenes, Jungkook is known to be very careful in making decisions, especially those related to the future. When BTS began to achieve global success, many young artists may immediately dissolve in a luxurious lifestyle. Expensive cars, exclusive parties, or the purchase of flashy items are often symbols of success. But the story about Jungkook is actually different. According to several stories circulating among fans in the Korean entertainment industry, Jungkook is known to be very meticulous in managing his income. He is not the type of person who wastes money without calculation. Even some staff who have worked with BTS said that Jungkook often has a long discussion before making a big financial decision. This is where Jimin's statement starts to make sense. Jimin once joked that Jungkook often thought about things that other members didn't even think of. In their casual chat, Jungkook sometimes talks about investment, long-term planning, and how to ensure a safe future even though his career as an idol will one day change. For ARMY, this image feels very contrasting with Jungkook's image on stage. At the concert, he can run full of energy, jump, sing with emotion, and make thousands of fans hysterical. But in real life, it turns out that there is another side that is much calmer and full of calculation. Many fans then began to attribute this to some of Jungkook's big decisions in recent years. One of the most talked about is the property he owns. The house that is said to be very luxurious is actually not only seen as a symbol of wealth, but also as a form of long-term investment. Entertainment analysts have even said that the decision to buy a property in a strategic location in South Korea shows that Jungkook has a fairly mature understanding of asset value. For some young idols, buying a house may just be a matter of lifestyle. But for Jungkook, many believe it's part of a bigger financial strategy. ARMY is getting more curious. Is all of this really the result of Jungkook's personal planning? Or does he get guidance from the people around him? Some fans believe that Jungkook's life experience since he was young shaped his way of thinking. He has experienced times when everything was uncertain. He knows how it feels to work hard without a guarantee of success. Maybe that's why, when success finally comes, he doesn't want to waste it. Jimin himself once described Jungkook as someone who secretly thinks about the future. That sentence made many fans touched. In the midst of a busy schedule, world tour, and the pressure of being a global star, Jungkook still thinks about life after all the spotlight subsides. This story also makes many ARMYs see Jungkook from a new point of view. He is not only a talented idol who works hard on stage. He is also someone who prepares his life seriously. Not a few fans say that this attitude is actually an inspiration. At a relatively young age, Jungkook has understood something that many people often overlook. That success is not only about earning money, but also about how to maintain it. Some ARMY even started joking on social media that Jungkook might have a hidden CEO mentality. Of course, the comment was half a joke, but many felt there was truth in it. Interestingly, Jungkook himself rarely talks about things like this openly. He never shows off his financial strategy. He never tried to look like an investment expert. Precisely because of his simple attitude, this story feels more attractive to fans that Jimin's confession may be just one short sentence, but the impact is huge. That sentence opens another side of Jungkook that is rarely discussed, the side of a young man who thinks about the future very seriously. And maybe that's the reason why ARMY is so surprised and proud. Behind the spotlight of the stage lights, behind the grand concert and global popularity, it turns out that there is a Jungkook who secretly arranges the steps of his life carefully. He not only pursues today's dreams, but also ensures that the future remains safe. Now ARMY's question is still echoing in various fan communities. What is the secret of Jungkook's financial strategy? The exact answer may only be known by Jungkook himself. But one thing is clear, Jimin's confession has opened the eyes of many people that BTS's golden magne is not only shining on stage. He is also building a solid future, step by step, in a calm but calculating way. The compliment that came from Park Jimin towards Jungkook turned out to be not just a light comment that was thrown out in a casual chat. For BTS fans, that sentence slowly opens the layer of story that has been hidden behind Jungkook's image as a cheerful, spontaneous, and energetic idol. More and more ARMY are trying to understand how Jungkook actually thinks when talking about money, the future, and life's responsibilities. If you look at his career journey, there is one thing that is often forgotten by the public. Jungkook started everything at a very young age. While other teenagers are still busy thinking about school or hobbies, Jungkook is already living in the world of fierce competition in the South Korean entertainment industry. He had to practice for hours every day, away from his family, with one goal that even then still felt vague: to be a successful artist. That experience turned out to leave a very strong mark in his way of thinking. Many people who have worked with BTS said that Jungkook has a habit of observing everything in great detail. He not only focuses on music or choreography, but also often pays attention to how the entertainment industry works as a whole. When BTS began to achieve global success, the change that happened was so fast. From a group that performed on a small stage, they turned into a world phenomenon that performed in a large stadium and got a contract worth millions of dollars. Situations like this often make many young artists lose their way, especially in managing their income that suddenly soared drastically. But Jungkook's story seems to be different. Some people in the Korean entertainment industry have mentioned that Jungkook is an idol who is very careful in making big decisions. He is not the type of person who is easily tempted by the glamorous lifestyle that is often attached to celebrities. Even on several occasions, his colleagues in BTS once joked that Jungkook often thought about things that were too serious for his age. This kind of comment then made Jimin's confession feel more reasonable. According to Jimin, Jungkook often talks about the future in a very realistic way. He not only thought about today's popularity, but also considered how their lives would go after their glory days as idols would end. Such thoughts are rarely heard from young artists who are at the peak of their careers. ARMY, who heard the story, began to realize that there is another side of Jungkook that has rarely been seen in front of the camera. On stage, Jungkook is known as an almost perfect performer. He sings stably, dances with extraordinary energy, and always gives maximum performance for fans. But offstage, he seems to have a much calmer and more structured mindset. Some entertainment analysts even say that this kind of attitude often appears in people who have experienced a life journey full of uncertainty since they were young. When someone has ever felt a big risk in his life, he tends to be more careful in managing the success that comes later. That might also be what happened to Jungkook. Since BTS became known globally, various reports about the assets and investments of its members often become the subject of public discussion. In several Korean media reports, Jungkook's name was mentioned several times in the context of buying high-value properties. But interestingly, the decision is often seen as not just a symbol.